What is up, people? This is the Carrot and I am here again to be in the hot seat. And my game is going to be critiqued this morning by Corner Coach Justin Liu, whose content is coming out in Carrot Corner on Monday, the 6th of May, 2024. Okay,
Yep.
so your job today is pretty simple. You're going to watch this old dinosaur, rusty poker player try to get back into the swing of playing. I did a session like this with Alex on Tuesday, which I thought went pretty well. I feel like I was able to play quite well. It's been a bit of a hectic week life-wise, so I'm hoping my mind is settled again here. It's going to be somewhat of a still lake. And yeah, I'm gonna click sit in here. And we have the replayer, and we'll sit in, sit out, and just see if I can do a good job here of solidifying. My main aim, Justin, at the moment is to just be solid and make sure my thought process has a good protocol to it, that it starts off with theory first, and then try and get some of the exploitative stuff in there at the end, like the Trevi stuff in at the end, if I want to like sort of say, I think this line is better than that line, so I'm not gonna mix here or whatever. But I'm definitely gonna be like kind of theory first at the moment, just because I'm in that phase of my game at the moment. I'm just trying to shore up the cracks. So what advice would you give to people who are watching this, who are starting out in poker, who have ambitions to make it through the stakes but haven't done like a load of work yet on their game? Like, what pitfalls should they avoid? What should they bear in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of friends at Oxford that, well, I don't want to say I got them into poker, but certainly I think took inspiration, who are like in that situation. So what I would tell them is like you have to put in quite a bit of work. Like there's just not a lot the talent can get you if you don't work. And part of that work will be GTO focused, and part of that work will be studying some exploits, studying some data. So knowing what to study, I think, is important too. And I would say like theory is your best bet at the start, just because if you just have no approximation of theory, you're just gonna get nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you don't know where you're deviating from, it can be really difficult to really frame what exploitative play even means. I wonder how 4-5 off actually performs multi-way here with like loads of fish in the pot. I get the sense that it performs all right. My instinct is that I should call here with this exact combo, just like with some very low offsuit. I don't know though for sure, but my instinct is that it can't be too bad. We have two blue tags here, which helps. Yeah, so I think we're just going to be mining the situation and favouring implied odds over fold equity here, especially without a backdoor flush draw, but even with one. I think we're just going to be calling, and the 3 is a super amazing card on the rainbow board, so implied odds are very, very good here, more than enough. That's a double gutter. Question here is, does donking the turn stop me facing a bet as often? Like, if I lead here for like 750, do I make things worse and just get raised a lot, or do I actually like scare people into like me seeing the river? Basically, this is a spot where my fold equity is going to be really terrible whatever I do. I think I'm just going to check because I'm not sure enough about this argument, but my fold equity is going to be really bad here. So what I'm really doing is just kind of looking to take an implied odds route. So I think I just want to call and check raise a river here. I think there's too much implieds to fold. I don't think I should be raising here, partially because if villain does have top of range, they can re-deny. Partially because it's just a weaker player I'm asking to fold over pairs and stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to call. Now the question is, do we... I don't think we do on the backdoor flush completing river into this range. I don't think we want to donk bluff. This hand looks like extremely fishy from like a I just called 4-5 offsuit and called 2 bets and
Yeah,
chased the draw perspective.
we might have our first significant disagreement.
Okay.
Um, I'm leaning pretty heavily towards just folding the turn, but okay, I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah. Okay, so I agree with like pre-flop. I think this is going to be a call, and especially with I assume like purple is recreational.
Did you see that we had a double gutter on the turn?
No, I saw.
Okay, okay. Right.
And yeah, I think flop is correct. It feels to me like the play here is either going to be to raise or to just fold here. I think call probably performs the worst. This is a recreational, right? So his range might be a little bit more merged than
Mm-hmm.
usual, which is perhaps an argument for raising. Like
Mm-hmm.
if this is a I mean, he bet into two people twice, right? Like
Yep.
he's upping like a pretty strong range.
Yep.
Oh, he bet into three people even on the flop, I think. I understand it's half the pot, but so this might be a bit more merged than usual, but in theory, he should be repping like a really, really strong range, like at
Hmm.
least ace jack, king jack, maybe it's the worst. If you want to make the argument that this range is too merged, and then I want to raise the turn. Um, the only issue is okay, if he's a recreational, he might be on the stationy side against the raise. He might not fold top pair. He just might get sticky with top pair against the raise, in which case that's an argument
And
against.
he may
I think,
jam at some frequency with an overpair or set or something as well, which can be a bit shit.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm seeing like pretty bad. I think call is pretty not good, and I'm seeing like arguments on both sides for raise. But if I'm gonna guess, I think the stationy portion of the equation is outweighing my like the merged part of the equation, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
In which case, like I think we can just get rid of this. I mean, we have four outs to the nuts and
Well, effectively, I think we have
four other outs to the effective nuts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we can say that we have 8 outs to the nuts here, pretty cleanly. Okay, the hearts are somewhat tainted sometimes. There's like ace jack of hearts, king jack of hearts, etc. So the 7 and 3 of hearts can be a bit tainted at some frequency, but I think a low one. So I think I hard disagree with you about call. I agree with you about raise not being that attractive. I'm pretty confident call is better than fold, and the reason for that is purely mathematical. Like, we're facing 12 big blinds into 24, we need 25%. How much implied odds bonus, how much metaphorical money do you need to put into that pot right now to make call directly good from pot odds? So like, how much do we need from villain stack on average on a 7 or 3 river to place into this pot right now to just give us 25% odds? Not very much, right? So if you said on a 7 river we are entitled to, I think we're entitled to a shit ton of EV on like a 7 or a 3 river, but let's say we were entitled to on average 15 more big blinds, right? Which I think is extremely conservative. If you take those 15 big blinds and you put it into the pot on the turn, then when you call your 12 is going into 48 plus 15 now. And now the fact that you have like 16%, you're almost there, right? Like just with that. So I feel like the reason I'm very confident the call is winning on the turn is just a purely mathematical, like, the implied odds just make up for this, because if villain has an overpair on a 3 river, they're going to probably bet again, and they'll call a check raise at some frequency. If villain is under bluffing the turn, the frequency that river goes check check on a 7 or a 3, which by the way are not intimidating cards for villain's range, is really low. So I just don't see how mathematically call can't be winning on turn, but I agree with you on the raise thing.
Yeah, I actually didn't notice how deep you guys were as well. Here, which is gonna help your implied odds. Yeah, I think like you made a pretty convincing argument for call actually. It does. I mean, it's easy to get prejudiced into thinking like, okay, we're out of position. He's gonna check back a decent amount of the time on the river, but okay, like let's say we assume he reopens like half the time or something like that. On a 3 or a 7, yeah, it probably meets the 25%. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that, like, generally when you face a turn bet and you're out of position with a draw like this, you don't call, like, as the pot odds get worse, like, you start to move into, like, raise or fold territory. I do think here, though, what I have noticed is that when you have a hand like this, when you're facing half pot, if raise isn't an option, or it isn't the best option, then the solver will mix call against, like, smaller sizes with open-enders and stuff like that, because it'll kind of say, well, this sucks and it's really close, and you know, it might still be winning. So I think this play is easy to be really prejudiced against a play like this on the turn, because it looks like you're officially chasing a draw out of position. But when you sit down and like really do the math, I can't see how it's not right, actually. I think raise is like the other interesting play that I'd consider. I don't think I'd consider fold here. But with raise, it's just, I don't know. I think I'd want more information about the player. Like, some fish you can raise against here and it's the best play. Others it's like awful. And I think because against a handful of fish, it's actually terrible. Like, when there's no fold equity, raise is just a dreadful, dreadful play, right? When the fold equity is really low here. And so I'd like to avoid it against population just based on how bad it is against some villains. I think, like, the downside of raise against some villains far outweighs the upside of raise against others, or something like that. I think this is quite a hard sizing to defend against. Villain calls relatively quickly. We get king turn. We're probably supposed to give up with this combo pure now. I don't think there's much we can do. Like, I do think there's a region of his range that's folding very high frequency here, which is like 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, and it's quite a lot of combos. But I think I'll delay my aggression until river against that. If villain checks back here, I'm going to make a hefty river bet. I'm going to bluff this hand pure now. I think it's unblocking all the folds. I think there's a lot of folds. There was a quick check back there on the river. Do I have a preference for sizing here in terms of true EV? I think I prefer something like this. Yep, I think I'm happy with this. I've made peace with it. But we'll go over it anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a button versus cutoff 3-bet pot.
Yes,
so
let's go! This is how we promote the series. Okay.
I can't imagine flop is a continue.
You
Like,
don't think we can mix raise and fold here? I thought there might be both.
there's just no way. Like I
Right.
mean, so in this type of board texture, your bluff raises are generally going to be like pocket pairs. So like pocket fives, pocket threes, pocket twos.
Okay.
A hand like this is just, I mean, I understand like you have two back doors and whatnot. But like our global fold frequency here is probably like 60%. Because the board is so unfavorable for us.
Yep.
We've been roughly approximating that. So we're just allowed to fold like hands like this.
So my thought was that folding and raising were probably indifferent, and that raising might be okay exploitatively if we just make it quite small and then observe timings and try and gain edges and things like that. I guess what you're saying is that the range craves more immediacy in terms of redraw. Like, you're wanting me to have like queen jack suited here and have overcards to like tens and stuff like that sometimes. I mean, we must have some unpaired hands.
I think even queen jack suited is a pure fold.
There must be some hand that's not a pocket pair that bluff raises, right? Because like the raise frequency is relatively high on ace 4, is it not? Or it's like reasonable because we have trip aces.
So the raise frequency is quite high, but I think you're underestimating your global fold frequency here. So my intuition here is I think like king queen suited and maybe king jack suited is the worst sort of like backdoor draw that you can raise.
So those are the ones you think that we're raising in this spot. Okay.
But probably not even that frequently, and they're gonna like mostly fold. And a king jack suited specifically might just be a pure fold. If king queen suited is a pure fold, I would be a little bit surprised, but honestly not that surprised. It just feels like you're like if you have pocket fives here, that seems like a pretty great hand on a paired board. But like even a hand like that is gonna generally mix, from what I remember, between fold and raise and call. So it'll be three-way indifferent. So yeah, I mean, I think like on a board, I think people are, I mean, this is something that I was definitely doing as well. It's just being like way too stationary on these like unfavorable boards in this node when it's like an ace high board, paired ace board.
So basically what you're telling me is that my minimum standard when I'm bluff raising has to be much higher in terms of equity than it would be in like the single raise pot alternative to this variant of this.
Yeah, I think that follows pretty like logically.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Because I have seen some of these textures where like hands like, I guess one thing I may be confusing this with is the visual memory of like a board like ace 3 and having 4-5 or something like that, like having the immediate gutter, which is obviously going to be fine.
Well, yeah, but that's really different, right? Like, you have an gutter.
Absolutely. Okay, fair enough. So this is a bit too spewy. How losing do you think this is in equilibrium, and can I like make some kind of exploitative case for it?
I think it's too losing to make the exploitative case, but I think like if you have a hand like, let's say potentially, I'll use king jack again as the example. Like if you have king jack suited here, and it's pure folding in equilibrium, but you don't think people are meeting their defense frequencies. And also, by the way, one thing that I cover in the series is how much button is supposed to re-raise against this raise, and it's like way higher than you would expect. So in a lot of spots, their raise range, their 3-bets or re-raise range is actually a bigger proportion of their range than their call range, which is kind of crazy because they're in position. So like you're not going to face enough aggression, and you're not probably going to face more folding than usual. And the argument for that is like if people are generally not raising the spot enough, a cognizant reg. I see this guy's a recreational, so it doesn't apply here. But like a
He
cognizant
might
reg
not be, by
will.
the way. Like some of these people are tagged from like a while ago, and they're tagged incorrectly. His sizing didn't look that recreationally here, so I think the jury's out as to who this player is a little bit here.
Yeah, so like let's say he's a reg
Hmm.
and he's if he's a cognizant reg, he's going to know that people are not check raising enough in the spot in the
Hmm.
cutoff, especially
Hmm.
with bluffs. So he's probably going to do the natural thing just to overfold.
Hmm.
And so when you're sort of like you said earlier, like going against the grain of the pool,
Hmm.
um, you can sort of make an exploitative argument for hands that are just pure folding, but are not a huge equilibrium loss. I just
Hmm.
think this one's too far down.
Yeah, okay. Interesting, because I really thought with like some of the edges we'd have later that this hand would be sort of recoupable, but maybe not. Yeah, I wouldn't say you've convinced me because I'm a stubborn old bastard and I take a lot of convincing, but I will say that you've like definitely made me want to sim this later and question it and look into it a bit further, and it's
Well,
cool that
it's
this came
also
up.
it's like pretty close to bottom of range, right? I mean, like
Well,
I know
it
you're gonna
depends what
have
you mean though. Like, sorry, in terms of like blocker property, this is quite good because villain has a big folding range here that's comprised by broadways, right? Like suited Broadway is like the heart of his folding range against this raise, and that's unblocked. At the same time, we don't block any value, but you can't really do that very effectively without having an ace here. And if you have the dangler cards, you're going to block other stuff. So from, like, first off, from a blocker perspective, I don't think this is, like, bottom of range. I think it would be far worse to raise 10-9 of clubs, and it would be a much, much bigger EV loss to raise 10-9 of clubs than to raise 5-6. It's bottom of range showdown value. In terms of improvability, it's also far from bottom of range because it does have, like, nutty live stuff that it can backdoor into. Now, I take your point in really disadvantageous worlds, nutty live stuff that's a backdoor, it probably isn't enough. But, like, I don't know, I think bottom of range is, like, a somewhat misleading thing to say when we're talking about this kind of action.
so I take your point. Like, it's certainly not the case that when we build a defense strategy, we're just calling like, let's say our global defense frequency here is 40%
Hmm.
in theory. Like, we're not just calling the top 40% of hands equity wise,
Hmm.
and blocker properties will play a part. I just think that like um, when the hand is as low down as this one probably is, I don't think the blocker properties will overweigh the um, the blocker property slash improvability will overweigh the fact that just as a from a pure equity standpoint, it's not going to meet like we're allowed to fold 60% of our range. Like I think this is going to be in just way too low
Hmm.
um, in terms of equity.
Okay, so ace queen of clubs here is going to be a pure continue to a small bet and a big bet, I believe. Against half pot, I think we have a pure continue. The question is, like, what are we doing vis-a-vis raise here? And I don't think there's a lot of raise on this node, and I think this hand is... I don't know, actually, whether this is a raise. This is another one of Justin's spots. While it's not cutoff versus button, Justin will be more studied in this spot than me. I'm going to just call here, and the reason is that I don't know if raise is a mistake. Like, I think it could be, because the hand looks like a bit too good to turn into a bluff, and there is going to be a lot of jam reopen here from the villain. I'm guessing we just play pure check jam here, because villain's bluffing ace queen, ace king, and we fold chops and things like that. He's also bluffing like gutter. We get some better to fold. Sometimes they may level into folding a hand that's actually really good here. Yeah, I'm guessing do we play call on this node as well? And play like call, like jam with king, queen, etc. I'm gonna jam because I don't think it can be a mistake. Call could potentially be a mistake. Yeah, it seems
Wow, he
pretty
just
standard.
snaps you with king jack.
I mean, king jack is just a
Yeah,
call.
yeah,
Like,
I know, but I mean, I would think about it at least personally.
yeah. Okay, interesting hand. So I'm not sure about flop there, and I'm not sure about turn there. I feel a bit ropey in that spot.
Yeah, okay, so like the first thing to note is that um this isn't exactly like a cutoff versus button three bet pot, right?
Sure.
Like the ranges are significantly tighter in this configuration. It's what under the gun versus yeah, I mean like the ranges are going to be like much tighter. So um I mean obviously we can extrapolate principles and they're gonna have like a lot of similarities, but I think if this was a button versus cutoff three bet pot, I would
Mm,
definitely be continuing ace queen of clubs on the flop.
hmm.
Can you remind me what size he used again? Was
Half
it half
pot.
pot? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. So that is actually the correct sizing that
Yep.
uh, I go over in the course on boards like this when the board is a low board like this.
Yep.
Um, and so it stands to reason that it's probably the same in this configuration as well.
Yep.
Button versus cutoff three bet pot. I think this ace queen of clubs will be. I think it'll be close, but pure continuing,
Yep.
or it might be a mix. So if that's the case, like if the ranges are significantly tighter as they are here, I think this will be a pure fold in this
Really?
spot. Yeah, I think so. If it just probably logically follows, right? Like if we're almost mixing or just above water in terms of EV,
But then you're
theoretical
folding all
EV.
non-pairs, so you're not.
Yeah, but
I just
but the
don't think
ranges
that's.
are.
Yeah, I just don't think that's right. I think this hand is like has a lot of redraw that's nutted. It dominates a lot of villains' bluffs. It has the backdoor. I'm gonna say this is a pure continue or a mix at worst. But someone should sim it though,
Yeah,
probably.
maybe. The reasoning that I'm going with here is that basically if it's like close in the button versus cutoff three pot spot, then it's probably going to be
Mm-hmm.
like just slightly under EV in this spot. But like I
Mm-hmm.
might be wrong about that. Like
Mm. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I might be overestimating like
Yeah,
how
I just think
strongly
this
the range is
is.
constructed.
I just have a distinct memory of this being okay under the gun cutoff. It is a really tight configuration, so I could be wrong. But I have a distinct memory of like the best broadways with the backdoor being pure continues. Um.
Like
So yeah,
what is your pre-flop? What does the pre-flop calling range here look like?
it's pretty tight. Yeah, it's a lot of pocket
There are a lot
pairs.
of
Like.
pairs.
Mm-hmm.
Ace king off even probably sometimes maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As far as suited combos go, um, hands like ace jack suited, ace 10 suited, um, king queen suited, like there are going to be four bet bluffed a decent amount, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
ace queen suited is, it looks like a very very strong hand,
Mm-hmm.
but how many other suited non-paired hands do we actually defend as
Yeah,
a call?
not that many. So it's further down range than I thought for sure. Being a fold just seems wild, but yeah, maybe I'm just over defending this spot. Like maybe this is just a common leak we're beginning to unearth. Maybe someone in the chat will sim like whether this is a pure continue or mix or pure fold on flop.
I'm not
Um,
confident, but intuitively it feels like a fold to me.
mhm. Apparently, I don't think there's like that much to say, right? Like you can jam. Can you call here as well?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with calling here.
Hmm. But you still have showdown value against
We
a
still, yeah,
lot of villains bluffing range.
we still beat like give ups, right?
Yeah,
If you think he's under bluffing river, that's an added incentive just to call.
sure. Yep, and early position 3-bet pots are generally pretty underbluffed by river because there's just so much overpair there. Yeah, maybe calls a better play exploitatively then in that case because of that. So my thought here is that this player should have built a donk bet strategy in a 3-bet pot. This is your wheelhouse again, Justin. They haven't, and therefore I'm just going to be playing checks on the flop and going from there. Pete always blames Cherry wants to fart all over stream. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, overbet. Interesting. I'm guessing we just have a pure call. Do we jam against overbet at this SBR? I don't think we can. At least not with this combo. So to bluff enough here, Villain's going to have to bluff the combos we block heavily. What is this? Like the ace X of clubs that just hit the river, probably? Okay, so we need to call most of our range. We have some club that's just got to fold now. We unblock all the flush draws from the turn. We do block like Jack 10 though. Okay, I'm gonna start going exploitative here. Can this get overbluffed? I really hate having two tens. It's kind of annoying. Potentially this can still get overbluffed, I think, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Like if villain does that with a busted draw, like I kind of hate it.
It
Other,
feels like it feels if I mean intuitively it feels to me that it's very rarely bluffed, but the
yeah,
bet's so small.
yeah,
I hate situations like that.
yeah, they're gross. It's a gross, gross spot. I mean, when I faced the overbet on the turn, my instinct was already like, oh fuck, this is like an underbluffed sizing in this spot from pool, like the overbet probe here.
Yeah.
And then like obviously we can't do anything other than call. And then on the river, all of their ace-x club draws hit. They have like a few combos of broadways. They have almost no air when we have these two tens though. The tens are awful. Maybe the tens are just allowed to fold and then like nothing. Like if you think about our range there, apart from King X, like King, Queen, King, Jack, clubs, etc., like these draws. Like, nines is way better because we unblock Jack 10, right? Like, nines is a much better call than tens. Tens is the absolute nut worst call. At least we don't have the 10 of clubs, I guess, but even then, like, will people follow through at all with busted flush draw, or will they just completely give up?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a fold.
Your flop analysis was definitely correct that in theory he should build some donking range, but if you no lock him to range check, which I do in my series as well, basically in situations like these where the board is ultra unfavorable, like button will just range check back.
Yep.
So you're definitely correct to like check or build a pretty high checking range global frequency wise. On the turn, it feels kind of disgusting. And again, this is a spot where the ranges are tighter. This is another under the gun versus cutoff spot.
Yeah, it's like destiny. These spots just keep coming up.
It doesn't. I mean, I think I see your argument for fold. Actually, it doesn't feel to me that we beat value. Like, is he really doing this with nines? No.
I mean, I didn't think about that in game, but it feels like nines just is unlikely to overbet turn and is unlikely to then bet river, having overbet turn on an ace.
I think
even
river,
queens feels too thin to me. Like, his bet with queens surprised me here. Like, it feels very thin on this card. I feel like queens is a check, but okay, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean heavily towards folding the river, but on the turn, I think turn is really, really close, and you can see an argument for folding it
as an exploit.
It just feels disgusting though, because you range check the flop, and it's like, oh, you know, I know the theory here. I'm range checking.
Yeah, I mean, the hand's a pure GTO call. It's like a big punt to fold the turn in GTO, I would imagine, with the redraw pocket pair. Like, it's
there's
huge.
Just no way, right?
Yeah.
The flush draw existing is some argument for calling, I would say.
Yep. And then the ace coming on the river is just like, villain has, yeah, I mean, I just don't think people are going to want to bluff this spot, like, often at all, especially for the sizing, and especially with a busted flush draw, and then we block all the other bluffs. This hand is just so bad. I think I should have folded the river here, I just didn't have the mental fortitude.
Really enjoying your YouTube content.
Thank you, Sanguini YB, appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't have the mental fortitude, I didn't have the time either to, like, reason fast enough to find it, if that makes sense, so sometimes you just end up like that, right? You just don't have the time to do it. Alright, we are setting out next big blind here because I have a call to get to, and I'm going to be wrapping this up, but this has been fun. Anything you want to say to the people out there?
I mean, check out my YouTube channel, J Liu Poker. Get in touch if you would like coaching. I'm not available in the near future, but I would like to get some students in the summer. Do check that out. This was fun as well. This was fun, Pete, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. How would you rate my game today out of 10?
I think you played like pretty well. There was really only that like one 3-bet pot spot that I disagreed with. But everything else, like, I just felt like was really good. And like, obviously you convinced me on that
the 4-5.
Yeah, the 4-5.
All right, guys, we'll be back on Monday with some more shows. So yeah, carrotcorner.com for all of our stuff, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks again, Justin. It's been a pleasure.
At Carrot Corner, you can learn the ropes from the carrot man himself. He's got the whole